everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm not sure whether I should be excited or worried about what's about to happen. Why? Because we are combining 3 formats into one video. Yes, you heard right. There will be a review, there will be story time, and we are taking a closer look at the Draw Your OC in My Style segment today. Sounds innocent? It's only when you realize that each of these topics could normally be the focus of a separate half-hour video that you realize it's not as simple as it sounds. I decided to throw everything into one video and see what comes out of it. What could go wrong? Absolutely everything. But relax, let's take a deep breath. I have a plan. In theory, at least, we will see if this plan survives longer than the first 5 minutes of recording in practice, okay? However, I will try to bring some structure to this creative chaos so you won't find yourself wondering halfway through whether you are watching a review or a slice of life episode, or if we have suddenly moved on a different series altogether. I want this video to feel like sitting next to me at my desk. We will experiment a little, chat a little, and draw a little. Sometimes we will digress, but ultimately we are all here for art and fun. So sit back with a blanket and a cup of hot tea, prepare for a mixture of everything, and let's see if we can maintain any organization. And if not, at least it will be funny. Let's start with a brief review of the Oros series of alcohol markers from Arrtx. We are talking about an impressive range of 66 shades here. It's a set that I wanted for a long time, so I was really excited when I finally got my hands on it. Bear in mind that these are my first alcohol markers from this brand. This time I will show you a color swatch that I prepared earlier. I know you usually like to see the whole creation process with me, but this was a special case. It was a Christmas gift from my fiancé, and as soon as I opened the package, I was completely lost. I wasn't thinking about whether the cameras were set up, whether it was a good time to record the color swatch with you, or whether I should wait. I just had to see them, I had to touch them, turn them on, feel how they sat in my hand, and see what the colors looked like on paper. Curiosity and the magic of Christmas won out and over everything else. It was one of those moments when the joy of new art supplies overruled an internet creator's common sense. First comes the excitement, then the thought, oh, maybe I should have recorded that. That's why the palette is ready to go, and I can show you the full range of colors right now away. I will give you my first impressions, which were very honest. The set includes 66 colors in total, including classic black, as well as a blender that allows you to beautifully soften transitions and accentuate the subtlety of the shades. The palette itself is very pleasing to the eye. It's dominated by light, subtle colors, often pastel and cream tones, which are ideal for illustrations, portraits, or calmer aesthetic works. The double-ended markers give you a sense of freedom and comfort when drawing. One end has a chisel nib, which is a wide, curved tip ideal for quickly and evenly covering larger areas. This works particularly well with pastel colors, as it enables you to create smooth, soft patches without any visible harsh edges. The other end has a flexible brush tip, which is perfect for adding details and more subtle elements. It can be used to draw thin lines and build delicate shapes, but with a little pressure it can also achieve wider, softer brush strokes. When combined with a light pastel palette, this creates a very painterly light effect. This set is so enjoyable to work with thanks to its versatility. Whether I want to create delicate blushes on the face, soft gradation in the background, or larger areas to color, I feel that the marker adapts for my style rather than the other way around. The pastel nature of this palette is particularly evident when it comes to blending. The colors blend very nicely with each other to create soft, natural gradients without any sharp, unpleasant boundaries. Even with minimal effort, you can achieve subtle shading effects that look light and aesthetic. The blender is effective too. Not only does it allow you to lighten colors where the ink has been applied more heavily, it also enables you to create texture or make corrections. This makes it easy to fix minor unevenness and give the whole thing a more harmonious look. Layering is also important. Markers enable you to build up color intensity slowly, which is particularly important with pastels. You can start with a delicate base and gradually deepen selected areas, so there's no risk of the whole illustration suddenly becoming too heavy or overwhelming. This gives you great control over the illustration. I didn't experience any issues with unattractive stains or smudges, which can sometimes occur with alcohol-based markers. The ink spreads evenly, leaving surfaces looking smooth and clean. With this soft color scheme, the effect is really very satisfying. Overall, working with all these markers is a calm and intuitive process. The kind of work where you can relax a little and focus on setting the mood of the illustration. In my opinion, the Oros series of markers is the perfect choice for people who enjoy creating illustrations, paying close attention to detail, and particularly appreciating smooth, fluid transitions between colors. These tools offer a high level of control without restricting your freedom. They enable you to build up your work slowly, layer by layer, without the fear that one mistake will ruin everything. The brush tip plays a huge role here, of course. Thanks to its flexibility, you can create both very thin, precise lines and soft white strokes. This makes blending natural and create light, harmonious transitions between shades. When working on small elements such as hair, fabrics, or subtle facial modeling, a tip like this is a real asset. The marker responds to the pressure applied, enabling you to paint rather than just color. The Oros series is a real discovery for anyone who likes refined, delicate, and aesthetic illustrations. Above all, it's relaxing. In my opinion, the markers in this series are perfect for those who enjoy playing with illustrations, focusing on details, and particularly appreciating smooth, fluid blends of color. These tools offer a high level of control without restricting your freedom, allowing you to build from slowly, layer by layer, without fearing that one wrong move will ruin everything. Of course, the brush tip plays a huge role here. Thanks to its flexibility, you can create both very thin, precise lines and soft, white strokes. This base makes blending so natural and easy. The colors blend softly, the transitions between shades are delicate, and the overall effect is light and harmonious. Exactly as can be seen with this character, Mintera Mocha from DeviantArt. In fact, I feel like her hair looks like a perfectly baked croissant. It's so appetizing that it makes you hungry while coloring. And the rest, it's totally coffee dimmed, warm browns, milky tones, and a hint of sweetness. It's like comfort food for drawings. This tip is a real comfort when working on small details such as hair, fabrics, or subtle facial modeling. The marker responds to the pressure of your hand, allowing you to almost paint with it rather than just color. The Oros series is a real discovery for anyone who likes refined, delicate, and aesthetic illustrations. Some time ago, I posted a temporary request on DeviantArt explaining in detail the kind of character I was looking for. I wanted a female character who was charming and graceful. Cat ears or maybe a tail? Absolutely fine. Fantasy elements were welcome. I was hoping for lots of details and interesting additions. Maybe a princess vibe or a heroine with her own story, something that would inspire me to draw and fire up my imagination. But there was one most important condition. This character simply had to win my heart. She had to have the certain something, and she did. I simply fell in love with her. I'm seriously considering choosing another character from this series. I promised myself that I would choose the character who charmed me the most and create an entire video in the Drawing Your OC in My Style series dedicated to her. One character, one work of art, complete focus, and my interpretation. I admit that I missed using good alcohol markers lately, so with this drawing, I really wanted them to play an important role in the process again. At the same time, I wanted the illustration to have more depth and softness and to be able to refine the details. That's why I decided to combine them with Woomer colored pencils, which are ideal for mixed media. This combination gives you plenty of scope. The markers create a strong, even color base, and the pencils allow you to add texture and subtle transitions, as well as small details that bring the work to life. I really like such combinations because I feel that I can have the best of both worlds. The intensity of alcohol markers and the precision of a colored pencil finish. I'm very curious to know how you find it works. What mediums do you most often combine markers with? Do you lean towards watercolors or pastels? Or perhaps, like me, you prefer to use colored pencils to refine everything at your own pace? Do you think that building a base with markers is a bit of a shortcut? It's a way to achieve impressive results more quickly, or just a clever use of the tools available? Let me know. Here we are, quietly drawing and talking about techniques, paper and colors, but I get the impression that many of you are waiting for something completely different. Time for a little story time. Not just any story, but one about a situation in which I won't hide. I felt really disappointed. It's about working with a brand that left a bad taste in my mouth and in the mouths of many of you who trusted me. When I recommended a product to you, I do so sincerely. I demonstrate how it works, test it on my own work, and take responsibility for encouraging something to spend their money on because they saw it's on my channel. I always thought that other side had a similar approach, respect, honesty, and professionalism. Well, life likes to put ideal scenarios to the test. At some point, I started receiving messages from one of my viewers, more and more of them. Something that looked great in theory just didn't out in practice. I was put in a very strange situation because, on the one hand, I trusted the brand, and on the other, I trusted you. I think you can probably guess which was more important to me. That's why, instead of ignoring the issue, I decided to tell you how it looked from my perspective. I will explain what went wrong, what I learned, and what I pay attention to today before deciding to work with anyone. To be clear, this wasn't a random message from an anonymous person on the internet. It was sent to me by a girl who won my giveaway. The contest was sponsored by this brand. Everything was supposed to be perfect, official, and perfectly organized. The plan was simple and clear. I would choose the winner, contact them using the details they provided in the comments, email, Instagram, or Facebook, congratulate them, and ask for the shipping address so that the prize could be sent to them. The brand and I had agreed that I would collect the winner's details and then pass them on directly on the company. The brand was to take care of shipping the package. That's exactly what we did. Everything went according to plan. We collected the address, verified the details, and forwarded them. The company replied to thank us for passing on the information, so naturally I assumed the matter was closed and the package was on its way. At the point, there was absolutely no indication that a problem was about to arise. From my perspective, this collaboration seemed like a dream come true at first. Really, I was given the opportunity to prepare my own list of products that I would like to test. Of course, from items available in their warehouse and up to a certain value, I found that extremely exciting because I would choose exactly what interested me, what I would actually use in my videos, and what you might like to. I even asked if I should take the prices into account before or after the discount. They replied that it was after the promotion, so suddenly even more possibilities opened up and my shopping basket became very full. I still clearly remember. I'm so sorry. I still clearly remember another situation. I was literally a few cents short of being able to buy my dream handbag. And you know what? The brand agreed to give it to me anyway. So, no problem, okay? That's when I thought to myself, wow, they really care about creators. Everything was presented in superlatives from the site. The communication was friendly, the responses were quick, and they were flexible. I felt cared for and appreciated. The shipment was divided into two packages because there were so many products. Best of all, they arrived in Poland within a few days. The delivery was express. And what about the unboxing itself? Pure pleasure. The boxes were adorable and visually refined. Inside there was a colorful hay, stickers, and all those little extras that make you feel like a child opening a present. I had a huge smile on my face at the time and didn't think for a second that anything could go wrong. Then the first message from this girl appeared. At first, I thought it was probably just a delay. Maybe the package hadn't arrived yet or something had changed in the logistics. You know, these things happen. But the more I thought about it, the more warning bells started ringing in my head. I remembered the terms of the contract. I couldn't say anything negative in public about the products, the service, or the brand itself. And suddenly I found myself in a very strange place. On the one hand, there were formalities and obligations. On the other, my values, authenticity, honesty, and truthfulness. These were the things on which I had built this channel and earned your trust. I had the impression that my authority was hanging by a thread. A girl who wrote to me, I wrote to the brand. I wanted to help, ask questions, and speed things up, but in reality, I had no control. Everything was out of my hands. The last message I received from them was when I provided them with the address of the giveaway winner, and that's it. There was no further information, no confirmation of shipment, and no explanation. And that was the end of that. Almost a year and a half has passed since then, and I still haven't received a response. In the meantime, completely unrelated to the whole situation, I spent my evenings like many of you probably do. I would turn on YouTube, make myself a drink, grab my phone or iPad and watch videos by one of my favorite artists. Most often, these were unboxing videos, tests of new materials, pleasant, light content that you can relax with and simply feast your eyes on new things. Looking at her joy and the beautifully packaged product, not to mention the speed of delivery, I thought it was great that brand could take such a good care of their creators. Everything looked professional and colorful, even perfect. I could have stopped there, kept that image in my mind and continued to believe that everything was working as it should. But something prompted me to check the comments. I started reading the comments from viewers, and with each sentence, I could feel my enthusiasm slowly waning. More and more people were writing that the reality of customers is completely different from that for influencers. While creators receive their packages from this brand instantly and without any problems, ordinary buyers have to wait for weeks or often experience problems. Comments mentioned delays, a lack of information, shipments stuck in one place, and sometimes shipments that simply disappeared with no explanation. Customer service don't respond. People share their frustration, their feeling of being ignored, and their sense of helplessness. And suddenly, as I sat there holding the phone, I felt a twinge of unease in my stomach. I felt helpless and ashamed that my channel would be associated with such cases. The message from the winner of my giveaway no longer looked like an isolated case. It was no longer just bad luck. It was not a one-off situation. It was starting to look like a pattern. I was the face of the recommendation in all of this. I was the person who showed the brand to others, collaborated with it, and encouraged interest in its products. Even though I was treated well, I began to wonder if the image of influencers in the packages wasn't just a carefully curated version of reality. I would be very interested to hear if you have ever had a similar or completely different experience when working with an artistic brand. Personally, I have never encountered anything as challenging, but I have heard several harrowing stories from other artists. For instance, some contracts contain clauses that give companies the right to use works created using their markers or other materials. Imagine creating an illustration and putting all your time, skills, and heart into only to find out that someone is using it on packaging or in the promotional materials without your knowledge or consent. To me, that sounds like an absolutely nightmare and something to be extremely careful about. This is why it's so important to read contracts carefully and ask questions even if everything seems straightforward at first. If you have heard of or experienced anything similar yourself, please let us know in the comments. We would love to hear about your experiences. We are sure many people in our community would find them valuable lessons. Thank you all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. See you soon. Bye!